Good evening, I'm Spencer Buckler. Coming up tonight, for the second time in a week, anti-Black Lives Matter protesters came to campus, how students responded. A freshman is having a unique first week after bringing his trombone to Green Street last Friday, an exclusive interview with Trombone Guy. USC is already dealing with clusters of coronavirus on campus in its first full week since reopening, how the university is reacting. And the CDC announced new criteria for who should be tested for COVID-19, why these guidelines are being met with skepticism. That's all tonight on Weekly News, but first, 145 new cases of COVID-19 have been identified in the last 5 days on the USC campus. This brings the university's active case total to 189, with all but one active case belonging to students. 255 new cases have been identified at USC since August 1st. USC is dealing with its second anti-Black Lives Matter protest in the past week. A group of people were met with opposition from students this afternoon after coming to Davis Field with signs and denouncing abortion and homosexuality. News 4's Finn Carlin has the latest on another tense day on campus.
Black Lives Matter!
In less than one full week of classes, USC has met yet another round of organized hate speech.
Women just can't shut up.
The protesters preaching messages against the Black Lives Matter movement, abortion, the LGBTQ+ community, and more. The student body assembled yet again in peaceful protest.
And nobody deserves to be treated this way. Nobody deserves to be told that they're a sin.
I pledge that we all, as students of USC of color, should have our own voices being heard.
Even Trey Hogan, a Carolina band celebrity known as Trombone Guy, made sure to make an appearance, joining his fellow students in front of Russell House. Although many raised their voices high on Davis Field, it wasn't long before student body president Izzy Rushton took hold of the situation, asking the crowd to ignore the speakers.
So I found out that these protesters have actually done this at another school, and students did not engage and they left in 30 minutes. We do not stand for this at USC, and by protesting and by being near them, we are giving them a voice. I don't believe that they deserve that. I don't believe they deserve the time of day. As USC students, we need to walk past and not engage.
While Izzy was able to convince many students to leave, the group still turned up their megaphones and spoke out to passing students, watching more and more of their audience leave by the second.
Oh, that's a commandment. But most of you wussies wouldn't understand a commandment.
Although University President Bob Caslin has made a statement on Twitter about what happened earlier, USC PD told SGTV reporters on the scene that the group applied and was approved to protest on Davis Field. The counter-protest today is the second time in 1 week that students, united in their beliefs, fought back against hate speech on campus. For SGTV News 4, I'm Finn Carlin.
Thanks, Finn. In response to the two incidents, some students have called on the USC administration to take a stronger position against hate speech on campus. At that protest today was a group of students with instruments led by one freshman with a trombone. That same freshman gained attention after interrupting last week's protester by playing as loud as he could. I sat down with Trey Hogan to learn more about the local legend, Trombone Guy. We've all now seen that trombone. You've brought it to the protest last week. Why did you bring the trombone?
Well, when I showed up to the protest, I didn't have it at first, but I heard the man talking, and he was definitely a lot louder than everyone else because he had his megaphone out. And all the stuff he was saying was just very hateful, and I thought that I could drown his sound out with my sound. And when I came out, everyone was like cheering me on, and I just kept playing when he tried to talk on his megaphone.
And why was it important for you to try and drown out what he was saying?
Well, I just really disagreed with all the things he was saying. I didn't really think that he should have been there in the first place, just spewing out hate everywhere. It just wasn't like nice.
And of course, there were all those other students out there. How did it feel seeing all of them protesting that man?
It was nice knowing that like everyone was like against him, trying to support like what he's not fighting for, or what he was saying. Everyone was just against what he was saying.
Why are you in particular against what he was saying?
Well, just like to put it simply, I just think Black Lives Matter. Like, I just think they do. And he was being like very discriminate towards like gay people. He was being discriminate towards other religion, and I don't agree with that.
Also here on campus, the Sisters of the Chi Omega and Tri Delta sorority houses are in quarantine after an unknown amount of positive test results became known. President Bob Carlin says all those who tested positive were quickly identified and isolated. SGTV News 4's Lydia Blackstone has more on the outbreaks in Greek Village.
New updates out of Greek Village tonight. The university announcing that 2 out of the 13 sorority houses on campus are now in quarantine after several members of Delta 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 and Chi Omega tested positive, this following a bid day where many sorority members weren't socially distancing. The Daily Gamecock obtained this message from an official group me in the Tri Delta sorority saying, "Hey y'all, I got word this morning that we now have more than 5% of our members with positive COVID test results. Because of this, we aren't allowed to have any in-person events until our case count goes down. I really encourage all of you to go today or tomorrow to get tested." While sorority members in both houses are encouraged to stay in isolation for 14 days, some members decided they would go home instead. In an official statement from the university, Bob Carlin said, "We moved quickly to identify positive students and then to quarantine the impacted houses and its residents. I remain confident in our ability to mitigate cases through testing, compliant student behaviors, and the wearing of face coverings. Our campus community can be assured that we will act quickly and decisively if students' behaviors are not compliant." But many USC students like senior Lauren Workman aren't convinced.
You know, I have a couple friends in sororities, and from my experience, the rules are like pretty strict. So I find it weird that if it was a rule, they would just break it. So it makes me question, like, were the rules actually there, or were there just individuals who chose to break them? An example of how they weren't social distancing, when you see all the pictures from bid days and it's like, oh, this is my new little, and there's like 3 other people behind you and you're just hugging them, and it's like, that's not social distanced.
While it's not clear yet what the extent of the outbreak is in these 2 houses, President Carlin and other university officials say that with safety measures and testing available, they will be able to prevent an uncontrolled outbreak here at USC. In Greek Village, Lydia Blackstone, SGTV News 4.
Lydia, thank you. Also in Greek life, a member of the Phi Mu sorority confirmed to Weekly News this afternoon that the organization is under investigation for violating public health guidelines. University Housing is updating its policies following multiple incidents last weekend. On Saturday, Executive Director April Barnes sent home an email to all on-campus residents saying that dorm rooms can have no more than 4 people in them. Barnes also said that incidents involving large gatherings would result in immediate removal from housing and possible suspension from the university. The CDC's newest COVID-19 testing guidelines are being questioned after the agency said only symptomatic people should be tested for the virus, even if they were recently exposed. The New York Times reported today that 2 federal health officials claim the Trump administration pressured the CDC to narrow the criteria for testing. One of the officials said that the new guidelines were not written by the CDC but were released anyway. President Trump has received backlash over the summer after suggesting multiple times that the U.S. should slow down testing. Coming up on Weekly News, South Carolina announced some of the lowest new coronavirus numbers in recent weeks, but also the lowest test count in over 3 months. We'll be right back.
Is up and down, but trust me, it comes back around. Hang in there, baby.
We have the latest on the flu outbreak in Colombia,
as well as the latest on the coronavirus.
And finally, how nursing program just made history. I'm Akil Lopez, and this is News Wrap.
For SGTV News 4,
be careful out there, Gamecocks. Flu season isn't over yet.
That looks good.
11 cases of the coronavirus have been confirmed in the U.S.
Up on all things USC. For SGTV News 4,
I'm Akil Lopez, forever to thee.
Welcome back. DHEC announced this afternoon 505 new coronavirus cases in South Carolina, along with 42 new confirmed deaths. Despite the low number of new cases, the state performed only 2,470 tests in the past 24 hours. That's the lowest since May 24th. There have now been over 110,000 South Carolinians infected with COVID-19, and nearly 2,500 have died. An Illinois teenager is in custody after being arrested for allegedly shooting 3 protesters in Kenosha, Washington last night. Kyle Rittenhouse will be charged with first-degree murder after 2 men were killed and another was injured. Kenosha has seen multiple nights of mass protests following the police shooting of Jacob Blake. Blake was shot in the back 7 times by police while trying to get into his car and is now paralyzed from the waist down. Blake's attorney said his client was breaking up a fight between 2 women when police arrived. The NBA is postponing all 3 playoff games tonight after numerous teams announced they were boycotting their games in response to the Blake shooting. The Milwaukee Bucks, who play about 100 miles from Kenosha, did not take the court today for their game against the Orlando Magic. Following the Bucks, both the Houston Rockets and Oklahoma City Thunder said they would not play tonight, leading to the NBA's decision. Players are meeting tonight to discuss next steps as they continue to push for social justice. And this just in, the Milwaukee Brewers and Cincinnati Reds will not be playing their baseball game tonight following the NBA players' lead. While residents in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Texas are bracing for Hurricane Laura to make landfall tonight, the storm is currently a Category 4 hurricane and is expected to bring heavy winds and storm surges. State of emergencies have been declared in Louisiana and Mississippi. Shelters are opening in both states as some residents are being asked to evacuate the area. Cots are being set further apart to promote social distancing along with other safety measures. And after the break, we'll tell you how USC sports teams are preparing for their upcoming fall season. We'll be right back.
Good evening. Our top story tonight. 25 years later, in one of the University of South Carolina.
Oh my goodness, I'm Monroe. A University of South Carolina student is no longer enrolled after creating and sharing a racist post.
One point of season, Mountaineers were ranked in the AP top 20.
Dawn Staley and the top-ranked Gamecock women's team made it 13 straight wins on Sunday with it.
Alrighty, for our weather this week, Tuesday we are sitting at 59 degrees.
All flags, including the one at the South Carolina State House, will be flown at half-staff until...
The alumni help inform South Carolina legislators about the many ways that USC benefits
Baseball has started off their 2020 campaign 4-0 after sweeping Holy Cross,
South Carolina at the Carolina State Fair. It is the national and international...
13 cases of infected people in the U.S., but experts here at USC say there is no reason...
Tonight is doing their comedy sketches. That's another branch of SGTV. It's a big deal. It's going to be
60 again, but those showers are showing up. Tuesday it'll be 68th Super Bowl.
In 50 years, they took down the San Francisco 49ers 31.
First Filipinos in California in October of 1587.
The SEC is moving forward with sports despite multiple conferences postponing their seasons to the spring. But that doesn't mean all of South Carolina's fall sports will be in action this year. Conference USA has postponed all of their fall sports except for football, which means that the Gamecocks men's soccer team will not be on the pitch until at least 2021. The Gamecock team still in action will be tested 3 times every week and receive extra screenings for heart complications. Stadium capacity will also be limited to 25%. Former South Carolina head football coach Lou Holtz is scheduled to speak at the Republican National Convention this evening. Holtz coached the Gamecocks from 1999 to 2004 and has been an advocate of sports returning this fall. The retired coach and broadcaster will be speaking virtually. And finally tonight, over the past week, our campus has been fighting 2 battles. Just today, on one side of Davis Field, saliva testing to help mitigate the spread of an invisible virus. On the other, a gathering of hundreds against a few loud voices trying to tear our campus apart. It's a lot for anyone to process, especially as we transition back to taking classes after months of quarantine. But USC isn't defined by a virus or the people trying to divide us. We are defined by the people that sat for nearly 10 minutes trying to work up 5 milliliters of saliva. We are defined by the marching band members that rushed to the center of campus to play their instruments as loud as they could. We are defined by the groups of people that were at the protest handing out masks. And we are defined by students who brought poster board and paint so that others could exercise their First Amendment rights. The University of South Carolina is a strong university. USC will prevail, we will prevail, and goodness will prevail. From all of us at SGTV News 4, stay safe out there and have a great night.